Hey guys, my name's Grayson and I'm super pumped to be sharing with y'all today. I absolutely love Georgie's Dates with Jesus series and I wanted to hopefully be a part of it and share my take on it. It's really inspired me to hear how Georgie spends her time with Jesus, and so I just wanted to take a second and share how I spend mine. Dates with Jesus is not implying that he's your boyfriend. There's 3 basic reasons why I don't like saying that Jesus is my boyfriend. 1, it's weird. 2, while God is a person with a capital P and he is your friend, I think that sometimes in America we get a little bit irreverent with the way that we talk about him, and I think that saying that Jesus is your boyfriend and you're dating him is crossing that line, personally. Which brings me to number 3, he's way better than a boyfriend. Ask anyone who's had one. Being serious though, God does reveal himself to us as a husband. And it's always a husband to a group of people, whether it's God to the Israelites or Christ to the church. And it's always for the purpose of God revealing his attributes of protection and provision and love. And being very raw and honest, a personal struggle of mine is running to a guy, or just really any person, to fulfill needs that only God can fulfill. And I need time set aside, kind of like a date, to confess the truth of who Jesus is and the fact that he fulfills every single need and satisfies my soul to actually be able to live that out. So whenever I say date in this video, I mean time set aside and purpose for two-way communication and worship between you and the God of the world, which in my opinion is way cooler than what we conventionally think about as a date. A couple of months ago, I started making weekly dates with Jesus, which for me is just a prolonged hour or 2 of time. Instead of having like a 30-minute quiet time, it's just a little bit longer. And I started those dates about a couple months ago, and the first one did not go how I was planning for it to. God likes to do really, really cool things with the times that I pick, or that I think I'm picking, to have these dates with him, this like prolonged time in his word and in prayer. And he happened to have this first one be literally the day after my boyfriend broke up with me, which I had no clue was going to happen whenever I originally planned it a week or 2 before. Anyways, I was super excited about how the date was gonna go, and I thought that I was just gonna have like this worship time and this praise time, and then I was gonna like write out a list of like all these people who needed prayer, and I was gonna like read a ton of God's word, and it was just gonna be super fun, kind of. And then I was gonna have so much energy afterwards. And instead, I was really, really sad and a lot was going on. And so I just went out and I laid out a blanket in this park, in this clearing where not a lot of people were. And I realized I couldn't even really pray. I was just very numb and feeling very sad. So I told God that I didn't even really want to pray, which was very distressing to me, because it's not something that I usually feel. And I just kind of sat there and I played worship music and I was just still in his presence. And I think that like if you compare it to an actual dating relationship, which I'm not even sure if you can do, but with any friend or with any person, those people that you can be really sad, and maybe a date with them or like a social event, a hangout, is just hanging out with them and just being with each other means so much to you, and the fact that that can be a comfort sometimes. That's what I experienced with God on that first date, and it was really cool. And I just sat there and worshiped him and said that he was God and I wasn't, and I was going to be okay with how bad things were at the time, and that I trusted him to bring me out of that dark place that I was in. And just heard him say over and over again that he loved me and that it was going to be okay. Even though I couldn't pray and even though I wasn't feeling really spiritually strong, I guess. And it was just really cool. Anyways, I think that was really cool because I realized that I didn't need a lot of energy or to feel really spiritually strong to have a date with Jesus. I could just go out and be how I was, and that me just existing in that moment was enough for God. The fact that I was just going to say, Lord, I'm in your presence right now, and I will sit here and I will praise you whether or not I feel like it. That was enough for him. He doesn't need me to feel it. He just needs me to make that choice. And it was honestly amazing. Another thing that I like to do is write letters to God, and just tell him how I'm feeling and what I'm thinking and about life, and ask him questions. I love to ask God questions on these dates, and a lot of times he'll answer me within that week, which is really, really super cool. And another thing that I do, which just might be kind of weird, but I write letters to other people who maybe have hurt me or the relationship's not going very well, but I do all of that with a more focused awareness of God's presence. And for me, that's been extremely healing to my heart, And I think that it's just inviting God in to all of those deep hurts and those problems that are sometimes with other people. And for me, that's just been a really cool part of our dates. Sometimes obstacles like to get in the way of God and I's dates, and God says, no, we're gonna go through this anyway. So one of those times, I was about to walk outside, and it was about 6 o'clock at night, and I looked outside and I realized that it was pouring rain. And I feel like God said, go anyways. And I go out to a park and I walk around, or I go to this clearing and there's tons of trees in the clearing and it was thundering and lightning, and I was like, I am a little bit scared right now. But anyways, I put on a big hoodie and jeans and I went out and I walked around the park on the sidewalk and I was just talking to God, and I probably looked like a crazy person. But somewhere in all of those leaps of faith I took to go walk outside in the rain with the lightning by the trees and talk to myself, what it looks like I'm talking to myself, but I'm talking to God. Somewhere among those leaps of faith that God asked me to take, he just became so real to me, because it was like going on a date with a real person. And I had committed that time to God, and so I wasn't just going to cancel. And I just really felt like he was right there with me. And honestly, from that moment on, that's been kind of life-changing. And so I'm so glad that I did that. And I just encourage any of you, if there's any obstacle in the way of you and this time that you want to spend with God, to just bust through it, especially if God's asking you to. And then some of my absolute favorite dates with Jesus have been themed ones. Every Valentine's and Christmas, I have a themed date with Jesus. And I love this because you're making memories with the King of the world. And that's why I actually think all of these dates are so cool, because I will never forget going out to a park and just sitting there and raising my hands and worshiping God when I was in a lot of pain. And I will never forget going out in the pouring rain in my hoodie and talking to God. And I will never forget just any of these times, because they're these beautiful moments, and it was a set aside time and I went somewhere and it was planned. And it's just so special. And then you literally have memories with God, and I just love that. Okay, reeling myself back in and on topic, I love to have these themed quiet times or themed dates with Jesus, and I've actually already made a video on my channel that's called Christmas Quiet Time. Okay, so the first thing that I do on these themed dates is I get a ton of blankets and pillows, and I find a really comfy place, and I just try to make it really sweet and fun and kind of make a fort out of it. And then I like to get hot chocolate on Christmas or chocolates on Valentine's Day and kind of eat something or drink something that's themed. And then depending on the holiday, it's kind of what I study or focus on. So on Valentine's Day, I might read 1 Corinthians, the chapter on love, and just focus on how insanely amazing God's love is for all of us, and the love story that is the fact that a prince already saved me and he sacrificed his life for me, and then he comes back on a white horse. That's pretty awesome. And so I just thank God for that. And then I always grab a journal so I can just journal my thoughts on the holiday, and then write down any scriptures or prayers that jump out to me throughout the time. And then on Christmas, I read Luke 2, and I thank God for sending his son as in the form of a little baby, and just for the magic that Christmas is, and that it brought all my family together, and I pray for my family, and all of that. And for me, not only are these quiet times or dates super fun and super cute, but it's also just really important for me to focus on God when there's lots of celebration going on, and to make sure that I'm celebrating the right things. And I know on Valentine's Day, sometimes it's easy to get lonely, and so to just focus on how God fulfills every need, especially the need to be loved, is extremely important to me, and that I'm never alone because I always have him. And then on Christmas, sometimes you can get caught up in all the festivities and forget the miracle that it is that Jesus was a baby and he came to earth to save us. And so just to make sure that I'm focused on that and spend that time with God in his word is really important. And then it's just really important that you plan out that time and don't sacrifice it. And so for Christmas or whatever, I know that probably Christmas Day isn't really a good time because I'm going to be with family all day, and I think God wants me to be with my family and enjoy that time. So I usually have that quiet time on Christmas Eve. Alright guys, I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you want to check out my YouTube channel or my Instagram account, the YouTube channel is called Beautiful Creations, and the Instagram account is called for all you Christian girls, with underscores underneath all of those words, because I wanted to have the longest username of all time. Until next time, remember, you're God's beloved daughter, royal princess, and beautiful creation.